I just want to pause right here for a moment and reiterate that although this research sounds, under today's very politicized and politically correct atmosphere, it might sound like this is anti-Semitic, quote unquote, or bigoted. However, we're just going where the research into their own writings take us. And here's a disclaimer from the author Christopher John Bjerknes on page 26 of his book. Please note that throughout this book, the religious views expressed are not those of your present author, but rather a representation of the views and beliefs of those who have pursued the extermination agenda and the androgyny agenda throughout history. Your author does not believe in ancient or current mythologies of any kind. Even if you start out reading this book with no knowledge whatsoever of Gnosticism or Kabbalism, you will learn sacred secrets and come to understand mystical doctrines known only to a few adepts alive today. Okay, with that said, let's resume. ancient occult system of belief, philosophy, cosmology, and most importantly, it's a discipline of ceremonial magic. It is vital to understand that Kabbalah is the antithesis to biblical Christianity and fundamentally opposes Jesus Christ as God.
The Jews run the show in the world, not because they want, because that's what God wants. Even though we have very small community compared to America, 300 million Americans, 5 million Jews. There's no comparison. But the Jews are everywhere. Politics, all the assistants of Trump, Jews. All the assistants of Sleepy Joe, Jews. Obama, Jews. Everyone around there, Reform Jews, Conservative Jews, Chabadnik, this, convert. It's all somehow. Same thing was in Spain. Same thing was...
We also pray for our friend and ally Israel, that she should eradicate her enemies, bless President Donald J. Trump. May we move forward together seeking to build a future that reflects the will of God and His values based on the 7 Noahide laws that will unite us all together.
Based on the 7 Noahide laws.
And a prayer in Hebrew.
I could go on and on and on. I read testimonies, watched videos, I went to Jewish source papers, even learned about how the Chabad organization is working tirelessly with the UN to use the Noahide laws to encompass all Gentiles under Judaism. You can even go here to NOAHIDE.com, where they even thank Nikki Haley for working to bring about world peace through the Noahide laws. In case you're not aware, the first law, no idolatry, for the Chabad organization and for the Sanhedrin, which will be helping enforce these laws, includes no belief in Jesus. And according to the 1906 Jewish Encyclopedia, the punishment for breaking the Noahide laws, which would include belief in Jesus, is decapitation, as you can see here in the Jewish Encyclopedia under Noahide laws. The most vulnerable people to fall prey to this false teaching of Noahide are the sect of Hebrew roots that deny the deity of Jesus. I fear that many of them will have no problem denying Jesus. It states that no one may worship an idol in the way that it is normally worshipped, which perhaps leaves room to believe that Jesus lived on earth and was a good man, but was not the fullness of the Godhead manifested. If that is the case, many in the Hebrew roots movement have already devalued Jesus, so that wouldn't be an issue for them. They may keep their head, but lose their soul in eternity. If the Hebrew roots movement is so good and the right way to please God, then how could it be leading so many Christians out of the churches, into Hebrew roots, rejecting Jesus and converting to Judaism? There's no other religion on earth today that is sending people in droves to abandon Jesus and embrace Judaism. We're nearing the end, and all the pieces are falling into place for the Sanhedrin to be reinstated, and the temple to be built, and the false Messiah to arrive, and for Judaism to spread across the world, and many Hebrew roots people will be deceived.
This is the original mold of the second Cyrus Trump temple coin. And as you can see over here, let's see what we have. Okay, first of all, we have over here in Hebrew, Lemalot 70 Shana, to fulfill 70 years. The original verse, to fulfill 70 years, is when the Jews went out to exile, to the Babylonian exile. They were there for 70 years. And after 70 years, King Cyrus said, God, the Lord of the world, gave me permission to let you, the Jews, come back to the land of Israel. And look what he said. And he charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem. That happened about 2,500 years ago. And now, 70 years for the state of Israel, something happened again. One of the biggest leaders of the world, again, President Donald Trump, and here we see the seal of America. He again recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, of the state of Israel, of the people of Israel. And he also built a house in Jerusalem.
The Kabbalists believe that they have the power and responsibility to summon the Mashiach by doing certain works, or Tikkun Olam, which we have learned is part of the androgyny and extermination agendas.
ברכה והברכה, אבל יצאת לך מגזר, ברכה והצלחה, שתפלא ולתושיע, בכל העניינים, בזמן שישראל מלאחרונה נמצאו כמה עניינים, מה שלא יאות, וגם מצב שעדיין משיח ליבו, אז הייתה משהו עם מה ידיעתו.
עושים.
הכנראה שהיא מספיק, כאילו שהיום כבר כמה שעות בגיר ועדיין לבוא, אבל יש עוד כמה שעות, אבל יש להשתדל גם היום, בבשורות טובות.
Menahem Mendel Schneerson, 1902 to 1994, was a leader in the Chabad Lubavitch movement. He was the Grand High Kabbalist with the title Lubavitcher Rebbe. He was a Russian-American Orthodox rabbi and the most recent Rebbe of the Lubavitch Hasidic dynasty. He is considered one of the most influential Kabbalist leaders of the 20th century. Grand High Kabbalist Rebbe Schneerson was so powerful and influential that in 1978 the U.S. Congress asked President Jimmy Carter to designate Schneerson's birthday as the National Education Day in the United States. It has been since renamed as Education and Sharing Day. But under the cover of this National Education and Sharing Day, President George Bush Sr. also slipped in Public Law 102-14, which establishes the Kabbalist 7 Noahide laws as the supreme law of the land. Every single president of the United States since has re-signed this bill and nationally honors Rebbe Schneerson's birthday as National Education and Sharing Day. U.S. Congressman William Dennemeyer, who served from 1979 to 1992, warned Christians and publicly stated, "In very basic terms, the law forbids the worship of Jesus Christ and the mention of his name under penalty of death by beheading." He warned there would soon come a day when the Noahide laws will be enforced, along with their penalties. Under the Affordable Care Act, death by guillotine is an actual inclusion for the use of capital punishment. Just as the Noahide laws were classified under an education bill, death by beheading by guillotine is classified under Medical Code ICD-9 E978 under legal execution.
And the Rebbe pleaded, if only the United Nations will go back to the basics and empower their nation
To adopt the 7 Noahide laws,
then this world would be a very different world.
It's called the death penalty, okay?
Two ultra-Orthodox members of Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition have introduced a bill that would punish believers for sharing the gospel of Jesus with prison time. United Torah Judaism Knesset members Moshe Gafni and Yaakov Asher introduced legislation last week making it illegal to share in conversation or produce content online, in print, or by mail. Their explanation of the bill emphasizes a warning to stop Christians in particular.
You know what Israel need today? They need Yeshua. They need Yeshua. But if you bring Jesus, you bring the wrong guy. Don't bring us Jesus.
Death by firing squad, electrocution, or poison gas. Under a new rule filed by the Trump administration, these methods can now be used to carry out executions for federal death sentences in addition to lethal injection.
Very much in favor of the death penalty.
We have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price.
Death penalty. Bring it forth.
In Kabbalah, visiting grave sites is a common mystical practice, particularly at the graves of tzaddikim, righteous individuals. This is Donald Trump in October of 2024, visiting the gravesite of Grand High Kabbalist Rebbe Schneerson. You can also see Trump's Kabbalah handlers next to him, who seem to be guiding him in this ritual. Kabbalah teaches that tzaddikim, righteous individuals, continue to shield the world even after their death, their prayers and blessings still effective. visiting their grave sites allows one to tap into this merit and benefit from their intercession, holiness, and merit of the righteous one's grave to amplify one's own prayers to their God, Ian Sof.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
That hit ended the war. That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing.
In 2007, former General Wesley Clark told Democracy Now! About a conversation he had while at the Pentagon, at the time controlled by the neocons.
So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
All you have to do is replace Lebanon with Yemen, and Trump's travel ban list is an exact mirror.
And of course, no punishment to the Saudis, and their record is so bad. They're probably one of the worst when it comes to radicalism. They were involved in 9/11, the whole works. Nope, hands off, don't do anything. I guess maybe there are some business deals over there.
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't.
And I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony of Jesus, and because of the word of God. And those who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received the mark on their forehead and on their hand. And they came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves, that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers. How can ye escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets, and wise men, and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill, and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues, and persecute them from city to city. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces, for you neither enter in yourselves, nor allow those who would enter to go in. You are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Revelation chapter 2, verse 10, King James Version.